Hey everyone, thanks for joining us this evening. I have got the amazing Luke Dowling joining me to do some pestPHP. We're going to be doing some tests for the ERP package we've been building, and we're going to be let's pesting this. So, Luke, thanks.
Howdy, Steve. Thanks for having me. Good to see everyone here.
Yeah. Hey, Tom. Hey, everyone else. Hey, wife, I can hear you listening from the TV in the other room. Biggest fan.
Tom's back to make sure we don't mess up his contributions at the beginning.
Yeah. Hey, Marcel. So I have started a new branch, feature / let's pest this. We've got pest pre-installed. We haven't really done much with pest really. It's still got a PHP unit test in the background, which if we run, it works, it passes, it's good. But what we're going to want to do is let's turn this into pestPHP. And we've got PHP Storm code with me. So I'm just going to follow Luke and I'll let you take the lead on this for now and we'll just have a chat.
All right. I think just looking around, we've installed pestwire composer. And in fact, if you were to go into the terminal and run the pest runner, it does indeed complete, but there isn't a pest file. So solution to that is to run the same command, but # init.
Basically initializing pest, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we'll get rid of all that boilerplate, hopefully.
May have to reload some disk. 2 seconds. There you go.
There we go. Thank you. So yeah, this is the pièce de résistance. I think your text settings are bigger than mine, so that's good. That's quite nice, really. I can still see everything.
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure it's zoomed in a little bit, so because obviously streaming.
Yeah.
Here we go.
All right.
Things moving around the screen.
Yeah, we're happy there. We're there. Okay, so I tend to do the first things and just get rid of these little helper things, get rid of the boilerplate, and bring this comment here back. So, I mean, I was following the stream the other day, and I think a lot of the tests here are probably going to be unit tests, right?
Yeah, I think for now it's definitely going to be unit tests. Later on, I'll be adding some feature tests once I start, building out the UI for this and wanting to properly integration test it and just end to end. This is how it's all going to work. At the minute, it's just testing. Logically, do these things work?
Which I like. So we can just import probably the PHP unit framework test case for now. And here's the cool thing about test is we can point it to this test case here, basically for any test inside this unit directory, which is pretty sweet.
Do we not want to pull in the orchestra one because it's a Laravel package, or are we going to steer away from that until we get to feature tests? What's your typical approach?
Well, this is I guess this is like the big question, isn't it? I certainly see the case for using orchestra for everything. Excuse me. Only problem I've found is that it can occasionally be a little cumbersome to load up the service container and boot Laravel for every test when you're trying to check that, I don't know, 2 + 2 is 4.
Yeah.
So I guess this is the ideal. Yeah, that's my ideal. But if it comes to down to the crux of it and we need something else, keyboard shortcuts are different here, then we'll have to change that. I don't know whether it's going to be easier for you to just do this for me, Steve, with the keyboard shortcuts thing being a bit different. Can you move this test case inside the feature directory?
This one.
So this test case here looks to me to be our custom extension of Orchestra.
Okay, so we want to move that into feature, yeah?
Yeah, just so it goes in the right place. There we go. And then that means that in our pest file, we can come in with another users. And we can say that we want to use that test case.
Yeah, I see what you mean, yeah.
This is like, my bad. This is the same as you would, obviously we haven't got classes in pest. So in the same way that you would subclass different test cases depending on whether you're in a feature test or a unit test. This is how we do it in pest. You only have to do it once and then you can forget about it, which is nice.
Yeah.
All right, what do we want to test first, Steve?
Let's have a look. So if I break it down logically, I don't think there's much we can test with the service provider, really. We probably want to just focus on commands and actions right now. The models is fast integration, DTOs. I don't even think we're using them anymore. So it's mainly these. So checking modules are installed and installing and enabling. So perhaps starting with, check module is installed. That's Was that going to be a feature test? Because that's
I think it's going to have to be. You got to do the database call, right?
So I think install composer package. Can we install a composer package, basically?
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's take a look at that one then. So, this is kind of where we need to have a little bit of a think about this. We don't actually want to obviously fire any form of process in the test.
Is there a way you can fake?
I guess we could mock. Are we on PHP 8? Yeah, we might be able to mock the process, but obviously that would just mean that we need to pass this process into the constructor. So that's fine.
Yeah.
Let's go create our first unit test.
Cool. I'm following you.
PHP file. Or in fact, maybe even a new directory.
Yeah, I agree with Tom there. Yeah, it's super hard to write real unit tests for this kind of package, because a lot of what we're doing here is it's feature work. Don't start with mocks. Better to do a feature test. Yeah, I do kind of agree there, but I think
I'll tell you what. Sorry, go on, Steve.
When it comes to the Symfony process itself, because we're not extending it, we're not doing anything with it other than passing it arguments. I think that's been pretty well unit tested.
Yeah, absolutely.
But let's see how we look with text.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would probably do is let's just write the simplest test here, right? So something like it. I don't know. It actually calls composer.
Yeah.
And if we were to come in here and just change this slightly, you would be. I'm not getting any form of.
I'm not seeing anything pop up either, to be honest. I don't know whether that's a code with me thing.
Yeah, quite possibly.
So what you're looking to do here is just pass.
I was thinking if we pass the process into the constructor.
Yeah.
And we could even maybe have it optional so that it news up a Symfony process itself if one hasn't been passed in. And all I was thinking of doing is just checking that this handle method is going to call must run.
Okay. Yeah. No. Do you want me to write that bit and you can write the test?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Cool. So what I'd probably do here is.
Well, I think you might be following me there, Steve.
Yeah, I'm following you, aren't I? Stop it. Right. Right. I was going to say, yeah, I'm not following you. Perfect. Right. Just want to construct here, and all we want really is we're going to default to null until 8.1 comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that complaining? Yeah, okay. Zip it. That bit will be fine. So what we want to do is we need to add a command here, don't we? Is there any sort of static way to build this class? From shell command, sleep, wake up, destruct, clone, run, must run, exit codes. I'm not seeing anything that's going to stand out right now.
What are you attempting? What are you trying to find, Steve? Sorry.
Well, we want to construct it, but the constructor has to take arguments. So we're either going to pass in a build process.
Yeah,
or
I think so. So I think
it's going to move this part, right?
Yeah. Well, you could even keep that. Like the only thing whether or not it executes Composer is by the by, in my opinion, because obviously, as Tom is alluding to in the comments, like that's going to work because that's been tested by.
Yeah, that's been tested by Symfony, right?
Yeah. So all I'm interested in is that the must run method actually gets hit.
Yeah, yeah, that's the exact same reason why I don't do things like testing all of my artisan calls or my my eloquent model saves.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So because this is a static, we need to say static process. That can work. Are we going to have issues because we don't technically ever start the we only ever call this statically?
Where is this action called? Could we change it to be constructed through the service container or something?
Yeah, we can do.
Since we have the power of Laravel, then we can unit test the actions as little individual things, but then once it's in its grand structure, it would automatically.
Yeah, that is only ever the install from here. So
you just create those as class constants and resolve them from the container, and then call the handle method.
I think I know what you mean. So just do you want to show me what you mean?
Yeah.
Walk through it.
Feel free to argue this because I'm not necessarily.
No, I'd like to see what you mean.
What are we in? What was the? Where was the
install module command?
So, I was thinking just something. I mean, if you were being completely anal about it, you'd probably go for something different. Still, obviously, now we need to go into wrong place. We need to go into here and make this just a public function.
Yep. So then we can swap that static back to a this.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got syntax height, possibly polymorphic call. Handles still accepting module.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's because I'm jumping between two different things. Handle module.
This is where we have an action to perform tasks, I suppose. And then we've got the command, which is just like a playbook of tasks. in effect.
Oh, then code with me being absolutely brilliant. Just 1 second. It's I'm awaiting host approval apparently.
Oh, nothing's popped up.
It did that a few minutes ago and it resolved itself. So we'll just there we go. I'm back.
Left and joined.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, this code with me, but it's not terrible. It's better than directing over a Zoom call.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, trying to explain which line to look at. I'm just going to try and appease the type gods and see if I can give this a dot comment. There we go. They're happy again. So that now allows us to pass that in still. This will get resolved. Probably will resolve the process as null, I'm hoping, but we should probably just check that.
Yeah, what we just need to do in the handle method, we just need to swap that to this process. Now we're not doing any sort of static calling or anything.
Absolutely. And then, yeah, we just need to check when we write tests for the install module command that actually doesn't come up with its own Symfony command.
Hit spacebar.
Yeah. Yeah, here we go then. All right, so have the process. If we pass the process in, it's going to use that one. Yep. Otherwise, it'll use a new process, and we want to check that it is actually run. So in our test, here's the mock. We mock the process class. So this is this mock method here is actually it ships with pest.
Yeah.
Just a little wrapper around mockery, which is quite nice. And you can do mock and then expect like that. And using PHP 8 syntax, you can do like must run and pass that a closure as to what it returns.
Oh.
But, and I'm wondering if Nuno is on, if he'll jump in the chat and tell us. I can't remember whether it enforces that it gets called once or whether it just says it might be called. Obviously, we're wanting it to say it has to happen once.
Yeah.
So that might not work for us in that case. What we're saying is we can now new up a what do we call it?
The install composer package, yeah.
And pass in our mock.
Let me just simplify that one. So we can fit it all on the screen. There we go.
And then we just literally want to call action handle, right? And if it's worked,
pretty much. Handle needs to take an argument of a module name, but because it's kind of not going to be really used, it should be fine. We can
just call it anything. A little bit of foobar in.
In theory, that should be fine. The only thing I'd complain about there is lack of named arguments, but that's just me being picky.
Yeah, I mean, feel free to go in. Like I've noticed in your streams, you are heavy on the named arguments. Like
yeah.
I'd be super interested to hear like what's your thoughts behind named arguments. Like,
I love them personally. They give order to things, and I like the order.
Yeah.
And if you're using an IDE, it's adding it for you. It's going to tell me, oh look, method names. That's fine. I understand that, but someone else joins in, or someone who's going to help contribute on open source. They might not have PHP Storm, and let's say they're using VS Code, or they're using Sublime Text, or maybe they're using Vim. They're not going to see the argument names. It's not going to make as much sense to them as it does if it's got named arguments. So for me, it's more like kind of a developer experience edition. And because I like to follow standards, it's if I'm going to use them, I'm going to use them everywhere I can. to make sure there's consistency. Because I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing worse than like guessing what's going on sometimes and not on other times, or following PSR2 here but PSR12 over there. You keep it consistent in my eyes, but maybe that's just my my awkwardness.
No. I have you had like much of a problem with, say, like a package gets updated and the parameters get renamed without it being a break and change? You experience any of that, or is that basically like people worrying too much about something that's not going to happen?
I think yeah, it'd be a break and change, but if you've got tests, if you're doing an upgrade, your tests should catch that, because it just won't run. And it's not hard to check these things, because let's say I spell this wrong here, module. It highlights it. It's unknown named parameter module. Okay, is there anything I can do with this? Change signature manually, or okay, it doesn't really do much. It's a shame that there's no PHP Storm like updating the named arguments, but maybe that's something in the future that will get added once there's more adoption.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I didn't really realize it did the big syntax highlighting thing, so that would be a very obvious throw in your face. There's a problem. Yeah. Hey, look at this. Whee.
What we got? I've lost you. We have to go follow you.
Follow me. I'm in the terminal. I'm playing in the terminal.
Right, we're in the terminal.
Here we go. Look, so I've got the composer package test just a little bit further up.
Oh.
There we go. It actually calls composer.
Yes.
We did it. We did. I'm just waiting for approval again.
No, I think you actually left and you're waiting to join again, I think.
I don't understand quite what goes on there.
Me neither.
I think every time I leave PHP Storm in the background, it likes to do it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Something's going on. That's all I know. I'm going to follow you.
So the other thing, to clean this up, we already have, you created a test here that I think just does it is true. Yeah.
Yeah. It does nothing.
Yeah. Can I delete that? Will it let me?
Yeah. It should allow you to. I gave you full permissions. So you could probably do some real damage.
I'm trying my hardest not to.
It's very tempting. Do you want me to delete it?
Yeah, it doesn't seem to want me to. And can you delete the example pest test as well, as nice as it is?
Yeah. Cool. And then there we go.
Awesome.
And then what we'll do is no test executed.
Is this still using the PHP unit runner? Or using the test runner?
Yeah, so I think edit configurations.
That's something cool. Sorry, I was just going to say, while you're finding that, something cool that's coming to Pest for anyone who uses PHP Storm, hopefully very soon, is identical Pest output in the PHP Storm runner to what you'd get in the console.
That would be nice.
So hopefully no more.
So that, if I run, it's trying to run Team City configuration, PHP unit, vendor bin. I don't know why I don't know what that's doing. I'm just not going to use the run debug thing at the top, because that just seems to have issues. So we will stick with that. Really? And because I like to see coverage, 100% coverage on that, apparently, because we're not using it. Cool.
Happy days. Awesome. And I kind of just want to, one thing I want to try and just show as well. You might be like, are you with me again?
Yep.
So here's the test, right? And I don't know whether we'll see it in enough like yet, but just to try and give an example of why I like to do unit tests as much as possible, even though on occasions it doesn't muddy the code, but it makes the code perhaps a few lines longer. Yeah, I don't think at the moment we're going to see a difference. But basically I found that it can be like, I don't know, an extra 30 milliseconds per test without or with the Laravel service container. So 30 milliseconds really isn't much, but when you've got, I don't know, 1,000 tests, 2,000 tests, 3,000 tests, whatever.
You've obviously not been looking at my code. I don't like that many tests.
Yeah, but before you know it, you're writing pest tests. They just appear. You don't even realize it.
That's the thing. When I started to use beforehand with PHP's, PHP unit, I'd write tests and make sure I got as much coverage as I could manage. With pest, it's like I don't want to stop writing tests because it's just kind of fun. It's given me some fun back in the testing, and I kind of enjoy it.
Absolutely, yeah. It's one of the things I like to do now, and I don't know that we can do it all that much with this unit test. Let me just have a quick look. We could possibly do it, but I think we would be doing it for the sake of doing it. But one thing I like to do is actually go into the tests and make the tests as clean as possible. And like I've never done that before. That has never been a thing.
Yeah.
Just like write the test, see if it works. If it works, I'm happy. But I just really love how much attention pest gives to actually the experience of writing tests.
So what I'd probably do here, just because.
Yeah, I was just thinking that inline handle. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Does that need to?
Well, I think the only thing is, let's try it. Let's try it.
We got to get the mock first to get that.
The types are going to complain, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That runs.
Happy days. Yeah, you seem to be able to actually do the runner. Mine doesn't work in Let's Code with me, so that's why I'm going to the terminal to run the tests. But from here on out, I might just say, Steve, can you run the test, please?
Run the test. Tom's got a question. But what have you ensured, tested, or prevented with this test? Basically, we're just ensuring that we do run a process, a composer process, really, aren't we? Or we're starting a new Symfony process, and it will run.
Yeah, I mean,
this is going to stop it running.
Yeah, there is argument. I wouldn't disagree with Tom that this is like a test that doesn't need to be written, but I kind of like saying, right, for one, we're not just using the run command, we're using the must run command. So it'd be nice if I had a test that asserted that I am actually using must run. I'm interested in that. That's a detail that I'm interested in keeping track of. And if a developer goes in and changes that because they're fiddling around and changes it to run, I'd like it to say, no, I expected it to be must run and you're using run.
Yeah.
So
because past this point, we've ensured that we've hit the must run.
Yeah.
And from that, we're leaning on the the unit testing and feature testing from the Symfony component tests itself. We're not gonna write tests which have been covered by the library author. Yeah,
I mean the only other thing you could, if you want to go and test the arguments that were passed into the process, then I would probably say the next thing to do would be to also accept those arguments as a second parameter in the constructor.
Yeah,
and check it out.
The handle method literally just to be the runner in that perspective.
Yeah, exactly. But much of a muchness at that point. I don't think it's really saving you anything. And then at that point, I would definitely agree with Tom that you've written a test for the point of writing it.
At this point, we're just ensuring that a method is called, which from a unit perspective right now is fine. When it comes to the feature test, that's where we're going to want to look at, okay, so how can we actually test this from a feature perspective? Can we customize what we're passing through to this argument here? Because, if we go to this itself, we can either pass through a process or we can just create this new composer one here. Is there a way we could, send it a composer command, get the response back and see what's happened, verify the response? That's what I'd be looking at next from a feature perspective. Make sure that we can interact with that executable, which is composer.
Yeah, and I think Tom has pointed out a decent point as well, that the argument, which is something we should come back to in this test later. I've got so many tabs open here. I'm the person who has has the tabs hidden. Now the tabs are killing me. 1 second. So yeah, in the install composer package, the handle method receives the string module. There probably should be some form of validation on that string to make sure it would be a valid composer module.
Yeah.
And certain, you'd want a test for that, right?
We want to make sure that being passed through fits the format of a composer package.
Absolutely, yeah. In which case, then you'd obviously have to update this from foobar to something more valid.
Yeah.
But I think it just gets us a test in place, and obviously it hits all of that action as well in the unit tests, which is nice.
It's one of those, you're never going to write perfect tests straight away. You start testing and you find holes, and then you start filling those holes with more test coverage, and you might have to refactor things to make things easier to test. But then it's playing that balance between, getting really good test coverage and making a really horrible developer experience at the same time.
Yeah.
At this point, you're building a package for other people to use. Do you want to add all of these extra methods to make it easier to test, but to make it harder for people to use it? Or do you want to, keep some of that simplicity where you can?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll be coming back to it for sure, but it was a nice, easy one to kind of hit and start with. We're going to have to move to feature tests, I think, now anyway, because in check module is installed, we are using database, right?
Yeah.
So 2 ways to do this. We obviously want the refresh database trait that comes with Laravel.
Yep.
So 2 ways to do this. We can either go into the pest.php file and we can add that trait here. So you could say that every feature test receives refresh database. But the caveat to that is obviously that every feature test is going to receive refresh database.
I'm pretty sure if you look at that test case there,
yep.
Could we not add it to that? Because this is kind of like, this test case is our feature test case bootstrapper, right? This is where we want to say, okay, so set up our environment, set up our container, set up how we want to interact with the database, and let's go.
Yeah. And I think this is where you've got to make the business decision of how much of my application is based around, say, the database. Because if you've got feature tests that rely on Laravel, but they don't touch the database, you don't really want refresh database in there, because it's going to slow your every test down. But if more or less every feature test is going to be dealing with models, it would make sense to add the trait to the base test case.
I think with this specific one, at least 80% of the feature test will touch the database because of how we're doing module management through the database. Part of the module management is a file system and composer, and the other part is database. It's enabling, disabling, that sort of thing.
Yeah, sounds good. I think we actually just need to inform Orchestra about basically what we've done here. So I already
do a protected function.
The application configuration, is it?
Is it?
I do have this in another project I've been working on earlier today.
Resolve application. Is it resolve?
There we go. Hold on 1 second. You go and copy paste from my.
I'll let you copy. I've not. I'm about to set up a new one for a while. But basically, we just need to say, okay, so this is how we want to configure our database in our feature test, and it's usually just SQLite in memory, right?
Yeah.
Unless
Absolutely.
you need specific features of MySQL or Postgres or something like that. Here we go. Define environment.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
happy days.
SQLite memory. All good.
Get us where we want to be. And the easy way to test that would be to create a feature test.
Yep. Let's do it.
So in this case, the check module install action is pretty simple, right? We are basically going to make sure there is a module where the name is equal to that given module or return null.
Yeah.
Is doing little else.
It's a very, very simple. I was going to zoom in.
It returns the module if one is available.
Is this where we can jump into the expectations API, or?
Yeah, I would certainly say we can do that, absolutely.
Because that's one of the most beautiful things I've seen when it comes to testing. You know, that expectations API is just. It's like method chaining. It's just it just feels right.
It's clean, isn't it? It is really clean. Have we got a factory set up for this? Not yet. How complex is the modules?
The only thing you need is a name.
All right. Okay. So we could probably just skip the factory for now, at least.
Yeah, it's super simple. All you need is that name.
Is there a static method where I can create and pass in?
Oh, you need with attributes or something.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
Not in a minute. We can probably do something if you want to.
1 second. The code with me is once again rejoining you.
That's okay. I will try and find where you were.
Right, just in the feature actions. I think
is there a way I can turn this stuff off? Because this gets really.
Yours is the first editor I have ever seen where I've seen all that.
Oh, it's just so frustrating.
I've never seen it before until I've watched your streams and I was like, what is going on?
I don't know if I've enabled something accidentally or what. I just
we probably can do like a force fill as well, right? Which would let us get past any form of guard or protection.
Oh no, it's using fillable fields. I use fillable, yeah.
So we can actually say what's the name of the
name?
Literally name.
Yeah, it was literally just name.
Have we got like an example module name that we can use instead of foobar? Something that's a bit more close to real life.
We've actually got one that you can install.
Happy days. I think that's quite important, like that you come back to the test and it replicates real life rather than just being
fake data. Testing fake data equals fake data sometimes isn't what you're after.
So this will be check module is installed handle, and let's move the
name out of there.
Yeah, into a little variable. Ooh. Module name. What happened there? Oh, you've unlined it. That's fine. And then you have. I'll try and appease you.
Thank you. Much appreciated. And what I'll do, I will come up behind you and just simplify certain things. There we go.
Yeah.
But now you're going to really trigger my OCD.
Oh, what's wrong now? Well, this is where you can choose, right? Because you can do that. We can do that. Or we can inline this entire bit here in a inline expectation.
Ooh.
So we'll do it the long hand way first. So we can obviously now expect
let's refactor to inline expectations.
to be an instance of the module class, right? That's the most basic expectation. Go in there.
Is it playing up a bit? Is it?
We're back.
Maybe we've got too many files open or something. Let me just clear some of these files. Close all of those, and then I'll follow you. You open what you need. There you go.
I think for now we just need that one, don't we? And that one. We just the test and the action.
Yeah.
Can you run this test in the runner?
Boom.
Right, what we got?
Testable setup must be public.
Interesting.
Test case. Oh, that's because so if we go to the this one here. What's he complaining?
There it is. Why have we?
Yeah, not too sure there. How about we test it that way? No, it's the same issue. Okay, so access level to pest concern testable setup must be public.
I don't necessarily know that this will work, but let me just try something silly.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. So you think it could be something to do with where that refresh databases is being triggered?
Well, I thought possibly, but that is not the case.
Okay.
Right, let's carry on with our little debugging steps then. Put that back because that's obviously not a problem. If we get rid of that, just put that out for a second. A bit of lag. Okay.
And now it's complaining that same thing. Testable must be public. Okay. So it's this is why I haven't used pest on Laravel packages yet, to be honest.
This is interesting. It's the first time I've come across this. So this, I mean, this is a bit of a dive under the hood, but this avowed line code here is basically like pest will take all of your tests that you've defined, that you've written, and it basically just turns them into PHP unit tests. That's why it's able to run PHP unit tests.
Yeah.
And it actually
like
evaluates them.
Compiler, right? It's like
exactly.
CSS.
Yeah, which is really cool when you think about it. Like that's actually possible with PHP, the dead language.
Yeah, and how fast it actually does it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, reflection all the way. Although Laravel kind of proved that reflection is it's nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah.
Where is it calling setup? Where is it calling setup?
Ooh, we got some there. So I need to Control Shift and A. Nope, not that one. Nope. No, I'm not too sure. I'm going to stop pressing buttons right now. Right, where have you gone? Where have you gone?
I'm diving around in source code now. We have a setup here.
Okay. So this is Orchestra's test case, which has got a protected setup method.
Yeah, I mean, I know this isn't our code, so.
But it's not a final class, so we can override that.
Yeah. At which we did, right? That was the.
Yeah.
That was the setup.
Not doing anything.
I'm just not getting code completion.
Let me do this bit then. So we just need a setup void bar parent setup done. So
yeah.
The same thing. Orchestra is great for testing Laravel apps, but when you get a problem, it's like it's black magic. You know, you don't know where to look. There's so much going on under the hood that it's just hard to figure it out.
It's I mean, it helps a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't knock it. But this is, you know what's weird about this is, let me just go and have a quick, I'm project jumping here, so excuse me.
Read the whole out.
I have recently converted a Laravel package to pest. And the Laravel package also had a test case call.
Test this out. Okay.
Hey, what happened?
Someone who said it. Here we go. Matt, could you change the setup method to be protected?
Legend.
That I did, and it worked. And there we were, deep diving into Orchestra and test and how things were built, and yeah, it was just visibility.
Quite simple. Awesome. Well, that gets us further, doesn't it?
Yes, but obviously we're not running migrations yet, which I believe you got to do in the setup. Thing is like this.
Yes, you need to load
migrations.
Yeah. Load migrations from, I think it is, isn't it?
Might be, yeah.
And then you literally point it to the.
I thought that was meant to come from here, though, right?
Say that again, sorry, Steve.
I thought that was meant to come from the service provider, but
yeah, it's not. You're not wrong.
Expect a string or an array. Okay, so perhaps we'll just do.
But so the load migrations from, I believe, is the thing that actually because the service provider doesn't obviously run the migrations. It just says when I publish.
Yeah. This load migrations from. So then I'm going to say this. Oh wait, there's a migrate using or run Laravel migrations.
Yeah, I mean,
there's so many different methods. Which is the right one? No such table modules. So we're not actually getting the migrations here.
So this is kind of what I've always just dropped in.
I was going to follow you.
Something along the lines of that. Obviously, that's not high enough up. That is. That's exactly what we're doing.
Okay.
And then we can do, I guess, is. I mean, we definitely are using
refresh databases.
Refresh database. But just so we're not going crazy. Oh, look at that. Which would then indicate, but I mean, that would still indicate that we're not actually, it's not actually using this test case.
See, what I've had to, so that wasn't running that migrations. Let me show you what I've done before. Where are we? This one. Let me close down that one because we don't need it. That one we don't need. Test case over here. Here we go. So what I've had to do before is Do something like that. Which still no such thingy.
I just think I honestly think it's just pointing to the wrong test case. Let me try something. I don't quite see why it wouldn't be picking up the pest case there, but let's try this, right? Let's come into the feature test itself.
Yep.
At the top, we'll bring the users method. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Is it actually detecting that users method? There we go. I'm just like the editor's just lagging behind quite a bit.
Yeah, but code with me is not perfect, is it?
It's nice, but it certainly I wouldn't rely on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't pay for it yet.
Hey, look at this. So there we go. So there's something going on that's not quite right with the pest.php file, it would seem. So we'll have a look at that at some other time. Yeah. You can see the users function. You can actually put that in any file, and you can even use it multiple times. So in this case, we can drop it at the top of this file, point it to our feature test case, and now when I run the runner, it's obviously going to dump and die. That was supposed to say here, but
yeah, okay.
Her instead, it would seem. And I'm pretty sure if that goes,
so what's our error now? Our error is no such table. So that's just because we're loading, we're not actually running yet, are we? So run Laravel Migrations. See, that's just going to run the default Laravel ones, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. See, I've never had to do that because every time I've done it, that load migrations loads the migrations, obviously. But then once the migrations are loaded, refresh database kind of kicks in.
Mm. So curious. Yeah, Joe, we are using refresh databases. Great. I mean, I usually use the database transactions. I'm not sure what the refresh database one actually does. I never really used it. So using a memory database, then refresh in memory database, migrate using. Okay.
Have you, okay, so this is now weird. So sorry guys, because we're kind of out of pest land here. But this this is weird.
Yeah,
look at this.
It is a stub, not an actual migration.
Ah, okay, all right, yeah, okay. So that would explain the difference between my project that I was using.
But I don't think this needs to be a stub. It just is a stub at the minute. So we could just, turn this into an actual file.
Yep.
Which, if I now follow you again,
remove that as well to make sure that there's nothing strange going on.
There we go.
Oh! I was so excited there. I nearly knocked my desk fan over.
Okay, so that is just the fact that it's a stub. That's making a lot of sense. Good eye there, Samuel. Good eye. Indeed. Thanks very much.
Probably watched the last stream a little more closely there.
Yeah.
Awesome. So test case done. Back to our actual test. I mean, the test actually passed, right? So if it returns a module if one is available with the given name, it did actually check that the module was was correct. And we can write the opposite of this test just literally right now. And all that would be is removing this. We believe someone in the chat said we could simplify this to just module create, which would be awesome if that's the case.
Yeah, that's what I usually do. I usually just do a module create. Let me give some real estate so people can see.
Cool. And obviously this test name's the same, but we can just change that so that it returns null if no module is available. Whoa, what just happened?
I don't know.
I think we just had a code with me blip.
I think I know what you're trying to do. Tell you what, do you want me to write this bit? I think I know what you're trying to do.
You go for it.
All right, let's just take it back to where it was.
Happy days. We just need to change the test name to be the opposite, basically. And then this here on line 21 just needs changing to be null.
So what are we doing? What's the model thing here?
I would just take this from line 13 through 15, but just pass obviously something random in as the module name. Well, you could still pass the just Steve King string. Tongue twister. But obviously, because we've not done anything with the database, and then you just expect that model to be null. Right? That's what the action is doing.
So this needs to be null.
That's it. Get rid of our little, okay, and run the runner. Yeah, so, okay.
So that's where up here. So what we'll do here is,
of course, static method.
Create.
Happy days.
Can't we use like a data provider or whatever they're called in Pest for this part?
We can, yeah. So that's actually super easy with Pest.
That's one thing that I'm not sure how you do. I never use them in PHP unit.
So you literally just tag it. So it's just a with method, right?
Yeah.
So just to explain, they're called data sets in Pest, which just I suppose is just to differentiate them. But a data provider in PHP unit is a method that's going to have a ton of test data in, or it don't have to be a ton, but a bunch of test data in. And each item in that set is going to be passed into a test. Usually in PHP Storm, you define it with dot blocks. In PHP unit, you define it with dot blocks.
Yeah.
In Pest, though, because we're in functions, we don't need to do that. We can chain this with method on. And we can just start passing things in, right? So we could pass this here in like that.
How does it know what it's called?
Well, this would be, so this is where you, I don't know that this is like the best place for a data provider, but it's a simple example to show exactly what a data set is doing, right?
Okay.
So if I was to do that, that would let us get rid of this variable. And we're not actually using this at the moment. We will in a moment though, so we'll keep it there for now.
Yeah.
And we're going to basically just pass that through, and it should all still work. My just Steve King thing seems to have disappeared.
Okay, so it just basically the with method will just pipe it into the function as ordered arguments, basically, is what it's doing.
Exactly. It will run the test.
Along, if I pass in another variable name, it will just be auto-assigned.
Yeah, yeah. So can you pass a variable name in? Because it seems to be auto-deleting the variable name when I pass it to with.
Yeah, sure.
So basically, yeah, if you had two variables in here, it would run the test twice.
Okay.
We just need to make this an array. Is that not applied?
Tell you what, let's let me go to docs. I've not used it'll be data sets. Let's have a look at what's said. Creating data sets. Inline data set for single test only.
Which is where we're at. Yeah.
Shared data sets.
So shared, yeah. So I guess to be fair, it wouldn't be a bad idea at some point to have a module name data set.
Like possibly, yeah. Because I mean, it might be something that we need further down the line.
Yeah.
So that's obviously.
It's certainly worth.
It's only going to be needed in feature, though. Do you need to put that in a specific location?
No, they always go in data sets. So we create a new directory for the data sets. Oh, come on. There we go. It just needs a lowercase s. Sorry, Steve.
No problemo.
And that inside there, it would literally be a file that we probably called
.php. So yeah, we'll call that modules.php.
Yep.
And then within there, I just have something like that.
I'm not following you. Let me follow you. Just do that. And then you've declared it as modules lowercase. So obviously that is the important part.
So zoom in so people can see. So all we're doing really is finding a data set within here, passing it an array, and then in here, when we want to use it, we just say with modules, and then
that should be it. You should be able to just run
it. So basically, if I pass in an extra one, it will fail, basically.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, the thing with that is, like, if we were to go to our other test, we could add the exact same data provider.
Yeah, so basically grab that, stick that in there.
That's it, chain with on. And now if we run the whole suite there, or the whole file. Yeah, there we go. So you can even see, and this is really cool. You can even see if you look in the test descriptions, and this is something that you don't get anywhere near as nice in PHP unit. But if you just expand your terminal a little bit, Steve, you see the descriptions that have been given?
It's kind of auto injecting. So if I had another one, for example, this is obviously going to fail, but
there we go.
Oh no, it's creating it, isn't it? It's creating it before.
Yeah. It passes. There's no validation on the names of them, so it will pass. But yeah, you can keep expanding that, as you come up with more ideas. Or I think what's really nice is if you come back later on in your development life and there's a bug for whatever reason, and you need to write a regression test, and that regression test is around, say, a dodgy email format that you'd not factored in, come into the shared data set, add a new line, drop in that dodgy email, all of a sudden you've got regression tests throughout your entire test suite.
Yeah. That's nice. Yeah. So basically, because at the minute we're not validating, when we do start validating, we can start expanding this and start catching those edge cases, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Nice.
Make it a named array. That's even cooler. It's cool enough.
We can do one. We can do. I think we can do something even cooler in this second test, at least, and maybe even in the first test.
I'm going to follow you. You show me the cool stuff because I'm a 32-year-old dad of 5. Cool doesn't really work with my vocabulary.
5, man.
Yeah.
Oh. I mean, I am one of 5, so I don't know why I'm finding that light. Come on, code with me. There we go. I'm going to get rid of the temporary variable. Right.
And stop it auto-scrolling.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, cool.
So let's get rid of that. I mean, that's quite nice. How
can we turn that into an inline, higher order test?
Right. So here's the issue.
Can we do it? Or what's the limitations of testing that way?
If you think about it, we have a data provider in place, right?
Yep.
If the data provider wasn't in place, absolutely. What I would do, I'm not going to delete this test. I'll copy it and I'll show you.
Cool.
Let's say that we were doing this manually with a string. We weren't using a data provider. We could absolutely come in and make that a chained expect. And we would, because it's using possibly things in the service container, I would probably pass expect to callable like that. And then this module name here. One second. There we go. I just need to close that on the other side with a bracket. Can you just close the it?
Close the it.
Yeah, just literally close that as a single method with nothing but a string in it. Further up, sorry, Steve. On line 25, just a closing bracket.
How are we? Okay, let me walk through this. There's a function that's doing that one, and that in the wrong place.
And then we can get rid of the last one as well.
Oh yes, because, yeah.
And then line 25 just needs a closing bracket, closing. That makes sense. Right at the end of line 25.
Nice. There we go. Yeah. Okay. I've not used this higher order ones. I looked at it. I looked at the examples. It's like that is just mental.
Yeah. So that would actually work, right? If I was to run that, and I like to kind of just drop things onto like a single line if possible, and then drop each expectation onto a separate line. So I'm pretty sure if we run that, looks like we've got a. That's it. I think maybe like my file, it doesn't update your file system, if that makes sense. When I make a change, so then the terminal gets out of sync. But you can see that passes, right? So that's the higher order expectation version. But once you introduce data providers, what happens is you obviously need somewhere to pass the data provider in.
Yeah, you need to pass it into.
It's got the function's got to have an argument. Right? Say that again, sorry, Steve.
You got to pass it into almost into here.
Exactly. Yeah, but at the moment, pest only supports the data provider being passed into that second parameter to the it or test method.
Okay.
So it would be awesome. It's certainly a PR worth looking into. That you would.
That is magic. That's some Merlin level wizardry right there. I wouldn't even know where to start.
But I mean, it's quite amazing how much is basically closure : bind under the hood. It's just like binding everything into the test case.
Yeah.
But I mean, the power that at the minute, because obviously you've got to make the choice at the moment between the two, the power that data sets give you as well, which is really cool, is they support Cartesian products.
Sorry, the wife walking past with the baby.
It's a family-friendly show.
Yeah, it is a family-friendly show. Bye. Off to give the baby a bottle. All right, sorry, what were you saying? Oh, you chose that moment to
I
have
just
something.
decided to eat a little bit of a chicken nugget at that moment. But like, so Cartesian with data sets, you can create Cartesian products. So you know how you've got, we've got currently one for modules. Let's say in the future, there is another parameter that gets passed in, and you want to test a big bunch of scenarios. You can have two data sets, one for modules, one for this second parameter, and you can pass multiple data sets in, and it will build a Cartesian product, Cartesian product of all of the possible combinations, and pass that into your test.
That's really putting your tests to the test, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but it'd be so cool. But so
I know this is like double testing here, but yeah, I think we should keep it in because it looks cool.
Just the cool factor.
It's that isn't, you know, that. Can we turn this
to be fair, why don't we just for now, until we've got more module names and we start moving into and we start moving into
validation and stuff.
Yeah. Why don't we just get rid of it? And then hopefully by that time,
bang,
someone, naming no names, will have thought of a way to get expect to be past all of the data provider options. And we'll all go from there. But that would be
cool, wouldn't it? If you could kind of just, because what I'd expect is like, if I could spell, don't get me to write the code. Look, I can't even spell. You know.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That would be next level cool. Next level cool. Even Nuno has got lol cool factor. I don't know whether that's in relation to higher order tests or whether the idea is possibly.
I'm going to run it just to make sure it doesn't accidentally work. No, it doesn't. Damn it! You never know. It could have been like one of those. We're going to add it, but we're not going to document it.
I mean, there actually is. I've just thought there is a way to do this, but it's crazy. Like, if you bear with this thought experiment for one moment, you could technically receive the module name.
I'm going to follow you.
I might get egg on my face here, but I'm pretty sure we could technically receive the module name. We could go ahead and say, let's set the module name on the test itself, right? And then because we have access to it here, I'm pretty sure at that point you could change this to this module name. And then you could still do with modules. This might fail on me, but if anything was going to work, I would think it would be something like that.
I'm following you. I'm waiting to see.
Do you want to like run the tests and see if that happens?
Oh wait, why is it failing? So it is failing because undefined property module name.
Yeah, I think this is being fired prior to this, or maybe this isn't being fired at all because we've got chained expectations going on. But you know, something like that would be awesome if we could get that in pest.
Okay, so Tom said you could do it something with expect. The expect runs before the closure.
Yeah, nice try though. Thanks, Nuno. I can dream, right? But this is the cool thing, right? Like, you know, with PHP unit, and some people will say you shouldn't be wasting times on writing tests, but this is why you have side projects.
Yeah.
and the cool thing about PHP, the cool thing about pest is with PHP unit, it's already like it's ancient, right? So everything that is done is set in stone. It has its conventions. You do this. This is how you do that. Don't change. You have to do it this way. And with pest, you're kind of writing things. And you're like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if it did this? Does it work? And then you try it, and it doesn't. And you think, oh yeah, but I wonder if we just did like 20 minutes of source diving, could we make it work in pest? And that's what it's like. Just a really cool community because that's quite rare in testing.
Definitely.
You don't usually have that in testing. If we're moving, can you just change that back to the just Steve King? Because if we're going to drop the modules momentarily, we could also make this this top test.
So you want to drop that as well?
We could also make this top test a higher order test. So yeah, absolutely, let's do it. So the first thing we need to do is obviously create the module. So you might be thinking, no, it's not possible.
Anything's possible. Right, let's dive into this.
Yeah.
We're going to look ugly. So it does this, then we're going to expect.
I guess you could actually. Well, the first is we need to actually create the module, right? So we don't want to expect first. We want to create that module, which you can do with the tap method. So there's a method called tap. And that's just, it receives a closure, and you have access to this inside the closure, which also means you have access to Laravel. So just get rid of the existing module equals for now, I'd say, as well. And then we can always set it on the test provider if we need access to it later.
So tap that.
Yeah.
And then
we want to handle it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So do we need a second tap?
No, you can, because you can now pass a closure to expect, which also is then inside the test case. You can literally copy line 16 through 18 and get rid of the variable, drop that in there after the closure, and then you can start chaining expectations onto the end of that. So that would be to be instance of.
Been long.
I think you're okay. I think it might just be because we've used a tap. Oh no.
No, it was me.
Awesome. So that would be the higher order version of what we've written. Let's see if it works.
Let's see, because that's actually some pretty cool looking tests. That works. I can't believe that works. That is just, looking at it, it's mental. It shouldn't work, but it works. And with those named arguments, it's a chef couldn't do a better job.
Absolutely. I mean, so here's the other thing, because a lot of people wonder what's going on with higher order tests. You know how in the pest.php file there's a space for functions?
Yeah.
So what pest will do is when it comes across a method that it doesn't understand in a higher order test, it will save it up, it will store it, and then it will attempt to call the method on the test case, on the base test case. And if it can't find it, it's going to look for a global function instead. So you can actually chain anything that is on the test case or a global function that you've created as a method here.
So could I do a... Let's see. Will this work? So here's Ray.
I think we need the. Have we got the Ray service provider booted in the test case?
Oh, I don't think so.
That's fine. We can. If you've got it installed, have you got it installed in Composer?
That is another good question. I just wanted to try it.
I mean, you could just do a dump and die, just dump and die in that method, because it will obviously still show whatever you put in there.
I was saying it's Ray. So I could just say ping it.
Okay, so put ping it before the expect.
Hey.
So if you think what's happening there, just so it's why has that happened? obviously, once you've started that expect chain, you've entered an expectation call chain.
Yeah.
You can actually get out of any chain using the test method. So there's a global test method that lets you like return to the test case.
So I could say, I've obviously got to give this an argument.
I think this should work. If it doesn't, then I'm sorry.
No.
I failed you. I don't think you need to pass anything into test, by the way. That it's just if you don't pass anything to test, yeah, it didn't work.
Oh, well. Yeah, it's an interesting concept. I think maybe I'm just pushing my luck with it a bit. I do that a lot with trying new things. You start trying it and
I'm going to as well. What I'll do after the stream is I'll share a PR on Twitter that I did for another package, and it's got some it's probably too far, but it's got like some insane higher order test chains just to try and see what's possible. It's almost like this is unreasonable, but can you do it?
Yeah.
So it is worth like just seeing what is possible and what isn't.
Definitely, I definitely think so.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, if it's common, right, that you're going to. So I don't know whether you can see me anymore.
Yeah.
But can you see me highlighting? Does that work?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you see this method here. I feel like that's going to be or going to be a fairly common method. Create a module, give it this name. So you could actually move that into the test case, and then you could have it as just a method that you call, and you pass in the string, the module name, and it will go. And then you've got maybe a bit more of a nicer name. So like create module, for example, you pass it the name, and it does that in the test case underneath.
Marion, any good resources for learning to write tests in Pest for a totally beginner to testing?
I don't know how early I'm allowed to say things, but maybe just wait a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously watch Steve, who's been putting some streams out. So yeah, I would just wait, because I think there's some sweet stuff coming for the Pest community.
Definitely. Sparcy will probably do something soon, Sparcy. He can't help himself. He sees something that needs solving, and before anyone's even thought to solve it, he's already published it and look it up somewhere, and we're already testing it in beta.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, the other thing is just pull down Pest and have a go.
Yeah, that's all I did. I just kind of played with it and tried to see what happened. Tried to see what I could do, see what the limits were, see if I could get on with it. Because at first I didn't like it. But ever since trying it, it's just fantastic. You know what? I'm going to take that. I'm going to say, give me a module. Argument.
Nice.
Come back to here.
Yeah, let's try it here. If this doesn't work, it might need to go in the test case as a public method.
Yeah. And we can turn that. So we will also quickly import that.
Happy days.
This is where my OCD is going to kill me. Well. PHP Storm doesn't like the way I format code, but I like the way I format code. So that's the important.
Yeah, it seems to be like completely against anything to do with lines ending on the same thing, same place they started.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to rename this. We're going to call it. With names.
That's well, I don't know how you feel about the compact function, but Adrian says we could change the property to name and then use compact name.
What do you mean? Sorry.
So in the pest.php file,
yeah,
you can change the name module, the property module. You can rename it name, and then in module create, rather than passing all of that, rather than passing even the array,
yeah,
you just pass compact with the string name in there. I don't know how. I personally, I stopped using compact. Like, I don't like it.
No, I use it. I do use it when I need it, but maybe not right now. Sorry, Adrian.
I feel like that was it was a Lara. I didn't even realize compact was a method until I watched Laracasts, and then that's where I learned about compact.
We'll keep it like that. There we go.
Yeah, so that's like, so now the test is even cleaner, right?
Yeah.
There's no.
And we can easily create module with a name at any point in any of our tests.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, as a global function as well. Like, you can do it anywhere. Obviously, don't try to do it in a unit test because it will fail. But it's real nice.
That's
really nice.
Cool. I think next we've done, testing what's already there. Let's look at the TDD way to add a new feature.
Yep.
This might help.
What are you thinking? What feature are we thinking?
You know what? I don't know. I've got an idea for something that I want to add, but I don't know if it's going to be, needing its own stream.
Why don't we do something? I tell you what. Why don't we do the invalid names that we were talking about earlier, right?
Let's do it. Validating names.
Yeah, that's something that's going to have to happen, and it's quite a nice simple one, right?
Yeah.
So I imagine.
Driver's seat?
Well, I can try. Whether code with me will allow us to is another question, but we'll find out.
If it doesn't let you do it, I'll take the driver's seat. So this is a unit or a feature test?
Well, I think like the very basics of validating whether a string is actually valid it doesn't need anything, does it? It can be a unit test. There's no dependency.
No, it's passing it something and seeing if it passes or fails.
Yeah. And wait, I mean, what structure-wise, are you wanting this to be like a separate class that you just get a Boolean value from, or maybe another action validates module name?
Yeah, probably. Because it's something that we could do. We might need more than once, and we might need it when we start adding the UI as well.
Yep.
So
that in actions, then in unit actions, we can have validate module name. All right. Test.
If we got the test part, otherwise it won't be picked up, will it?
In all honesty, I think it would.
Would it?
Yeah. I think because Pest doesn't use the same lookup as PHP unit. So I think you can even put spaces in the name of the class and in the name of the file and things.
No, that is not acceptable.
There was a PR. The other hello Isaac. There was a PR. It went into Pest a month or so back, and there was an issue because someone was putting the greater than sign.
Yeah.
Someone was putting the greater than sign in their file name, and it was causing an error because the greater than sign is used deeper down in Pest. So now there's a triple greater than sign used in Pest deeper down, so that you can put greater than signs in your test case.
Jesus.
Don't do it.
No, don't.
So let's say it can or it passes a valid module name. And I think this makes sense that at this point, rather than using higher order, we request our modules, we receive our module name, which we know is going to be a string. Yeah. And then we can actually like just test the action. So we'll new up an action. So action equals, and you've actually been doing it just using a static handle method, right?
I have been, yeah.
So if we were to call the action validate module name handle module name, which is obviously going to be name.
Thank you. You had me panicking.
You were almost crying there, weren't you?
I'm very close to it, to be honest.
Very close. Can you create a class in Actions for us? Because again, Code with Me, it's not yet implemented for Code with Me clients.
Namespace. You know what? You can do it the manual way. Oh, we've got that already. That's because we're validating against the API.
Ah, okay. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? So do we have it as two separate actions, or do we merge the two actions together?
I think we need to merge it. So we need to validate it here. We need to validate it before we hit the API, make sure it hits the correct. Yeah, let me. Yeah, we need to validate before we hit the API. Ideally, we need to guarantee to save any external resource calls. Let's validate the naming convention first.
Yep.
And then we can start looking at talking to packagists, so we can bail out early if they pass in something silly.
Yep. So we're thinking that we're just going to combine it all into a single action, which is, I suppose, then going to be a mix of writing tests for what is there and then writing some new tests to make sure we do some local validation as well.
Yeah.
Yep. Happy days. In which case, we actually need to move this out of a unit test because we're doing some HTTP calls there, right?
Yes, we are.
And seeing as there's no namespacing, I wonder if I can just literally drag that. I don't seem to be able to drag. So would you be able to just drag the action into the feature actions directory? The test, the validate module name test. There we go. Thank you. So that's the other good thing. You don't have to rename space to move your tests around.
It was called module when I passed it through, though. So it doesn't return anything.
Okay. What do you think about how do you usually work? Do you return booleans, or do you like to throw exceptions? Or
I throw exceptions. When it's something like this, I throw an exception. When I'm building like a UI or an API, that is when I will start to return types like a boolean for a validation instead of. Yeah, at this point, we're just, is this a correct module name? If it's not, we don't want to continue. We want to throw a invalid argument or a runtime or something.
I don't know whether that test is a little bit too verbose.
No, I love verbose naming. It's great.
So here's another cool pest feature, right? So I brought this out in my talk that I did at the pest meetup, but usually if you're doing this, you'd have to use the test case to say expect exception, or expect exception, okay? And then you pass the exception type you're interested in. But you have to put it at the top of your test, and it always annoyed me because it's like, well, why does everything else to do with the assertions and the checks and everything go at the bottom, apart from if it's an exception, in which case it goes to the top? Which I understand logically why it has to happen.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about pest is because you've got the compile step, you can get around logic. So there's actually just the throws method that you can append on the end. And you can just pass in the invalid argument exception, which is not the HTTP one. So go away, HTTP one. Valid argument exception. Where is the default?
This is where I used this before, and I actually do the named arguments, but then Nuno was like, why are you using named arguments? I like them.
Where's the, can you, I don't know whether I'm being stupid, but I cannot get an invalid argument exception to come up. It keeps importing the HTTP one. You would agree that that is the correct exception, yeah?
Yes, you're passing an invalid argument to the module, to the action which you're validating. It's saying, what you've passed me doesn't work, basically.
Yeah. Awesome. So, I mean, for all intents and purposes, like, that's the base of the test, right?
Yeah.
The only thing is we don't want valid. I'm just going to see if I can see this all. We don't want valid modules. We want invalid modules. So for now, let's just pass it an array. And sorry for the formatting here.
I can fix that.
So what would be classed as some like invalid package names? I guess something without
something without a vendor/package, basically, or anything with more than one slash, or anything without at least one slash.
Too many slashes. And then are you allowed spaces?
An integer should fail.
Are you allowed spaces in vendor names? I don't imagine you are, right?
I don't believe so.
But just something like that to get us off the road.
Yeah, I think that's what we're looking for there, right? That works.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we can come back and kind of tackle the complexities of this in a moment. I actually think we might. No, we can't. Keep forgetting. We're using that is the next PR I'm making to Pest. We're going to allow data providers in higher order expectations.
That's going to make them look so good.
Can you run this file for us?
Just this one, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Obviously, it'll fail.
Yeah. So here, you see, we've got 4 tests run. Which is what we'd expect. Now, it's fine.
The facade route has not been set.
This is just that we need to tell it to use the correct test case. And before the next stream, after the stream's ended, I'll go and have a look at why that pest file's not worked, and I'll make sure that goes up in the.
So now we are failing. That exception of error is cool, because it's
exactly what we'd expect, right?
Yeah.
So if we look in the action, at this point you're going straight into this JSON, whereas we need to do a local validation.
Yeah. And because we're using Laravel, this is where I would jump in here and probably just do something like
validate to make. Yeah.
Then we're going to say that the name is a module, and that the rules are going to be the name is required, string. What else can we do? We can start doing regex and all sorts, can't we?
Yeah, I don't. Can we do the? Is it matches in Laravel? Validation. It's quite a simple regex query, I guess, isn't it? It would. I mean, the regex would literally be that it can be any word of any number of characters.
Yeah. So what rules have we got available? We've got things like starts with regular expression.
The main thing is that it can't contain a space, right? And it has to contain 1 /.
Yes.
I mean,
that is a very good point there, Adrian. It doesn't need to be required because we've already got type checking.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'm being stupid, but would something as simple as that work? But then obviously add in the...
I don't speak regex.
Nope. As far as I can tell, that would be... I could have got the word validation wrong there, but that should be start at the beginning of the string, which is our little uptick.
Yep.
Any word character, which is alphanumeric or underscore. So I guess the only question is, can you do like numbers in your vendor name?
Yes.
Yeah. And can you do an underscore in your vendor name?
I actually don't know. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to.
Well, I mean, we can go with it for now.
If you're allowed like dashes in package names.
So we need to support a dash as well.
Yeah.
Fine. So I'm just going to pull in this sort of an updated version. So that would be, first of all, we need, is it literally just regex colon?
It is.
Or is it matches?
Regular expression is, yeah, regex colon.
So that would be start of the string, any dash character or word character, which is alphanumeric or underscore, that might not be acceptable. 1 or more of those.
Yeah.
It can be any length, right?
As far as I know.
And then we have to escape the / character, which is what the backward slash is for. Then the same again. So another name that can be comprised of dashes or a word character, and then that should be the end of the string.
Yeah. So that is as passing validation. But what does this run? Once we've made, do we have to like?
Yeah, you just call validate, and that returns the array with the name in it. But obviously, we don't need that because that would just throw a validation exception, wouldn't it?
So we need to change what we're catching, don't we?
Yeah. Can you do can you do a union throws?
Oh, what, sorry?
Can you do a union throws in dot blocks?
Yeah. Or a validation exception. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah.
So now if we come back to our test, that'll still fail because we are expecting that sort of an invalid argument one. There we go.
Well, that is the first time I have created some regex that's worked the first time.
So here we go. Look, it's even doing, let me zoom. Here we go. So foobar, too many slashes, too many spaces, 1, 2, 3. And what happens if we pass one that, if we pass one that does pass the requirements, it'll just follow through and it won't throw the validation exception.
Yeah, exactly. So there is actually there's a method, isn't there, called expect not to perform assertion.
So
but
that,
I mean,
for example,
you will get a fail, won't you? Because obviously it wants an exception. But what we could do is another test that has the modules data set, and it expects not to perform assertions for every single test, because there should be nothing thrown, because it should all just pass.
Yeah.
I would say as well that this is a very good case to have another shared data set called like invalid modules, maybe.
Yeah, I'm actually inclined to agree there. So we will just call that one
invalid module names or something. Oh yeah, failable.
Failable modules. And what we need something very similar to this. Instead, we will return.
I don't think. Yeah. I don't think you need the. So it's got to be a single array.
Yeah, I'm just fixing.
Yeah, sorry.
It's quicker than writing it. There we go. So now I can just.
End in.
There we go.
And then you just need to change the name as well in the shared data set to be different to modules, because currently it's set to modules. That's a good question, Adrian. If you know the answer to that, then please let us know, because that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I'm not too sure on the ins and outs of all of the. Sorry, I'm just halfway through a thought there. I'm not sure on the ins and outs of how Packagist does its validation and how it defines its rules. Definitely something I could look at.
That's cool.
Look at if I'm doing an integration like this, right?
Yeah, well, it's the same thing. What's nice though is, as those rules become evident, you hop into your shared data set, you add one more line,
you ensure it.
Exactly. You don't have to change any tests. You just have to change the code in the actual implementation.
So let's do another one. So we can do an it. Suppose that anymore or that. We're validating the module name. So we want to do a close a request exception if module not found on packages. Something really simple like that, right?
Yep. And this is going to be basically be our where we need to start faking HTTP, I guess, right?
Yeah. So here we would need to do a fake which can accept an array. This is where I know what I'm doing for a change. So basically, when we can chuck an array into here, and what we want to do is, I wanted to be a bit more specific with this fake.
Mm-hmm.
So when I am calling, let's grab that. Anything there, I want to. This is where I need to
You just want to fail, right? I think you can just do HTTP : response, is it? Yeah, response, and then you can set a status on the response to be something other than 200.
Yeah, so how do I trigger the request exception?
Currently, you've got response to exception, which I'm pretty sure the failed method happens if it's not a 200. So if you were to check, if the status returned a 500, I think that you'd get a request exception. So as the second parameter, you can pass name parameters.
So the body we don't care about. We're caring about the headers, status.
think
there we go. So that should technically isn't needed.
name parameters.
At this point, we should be able to validate a module name.
Passing it a valid module that would pass the validation.
No, but we want to pass it.
You want something that will pass that first test, right? That will actually get past
we want it to pass the first validation test, but we don't want it to be a package name.
Yeah.
So this is where I need an array of arrays here, right? So here I can just do something like
one of the few that you didn't.
I know. I'm getting as bad as Sparsy now, aren't I? Ooh, okay, so we have a failure.
Error. What's the error? Call to undefined function promise for.
Error. Promise for.
Okay.
Okay, have I done something wrong with that HTTP fake? As you can see, if you hadn't noticed, Laravel Docs now has dark mode. Testing, HTTP tests. Where's fakes? Fake method. Nope.
I think it's on the HTTP client documentation rather than just the HTTP documentation.
It probably is, isn't it?
I don't think you did anything wrong with it, though.
So, faking responses. No, me neither. Okay, so maybe it's just getting confused with all of this stuff I'm adding to it, this very specific stuff. So maybe I just need to, I don't see why it would. I'm sure it's doing something in the background. Okay.
It doesn't make any additional HTTP requests anyway, does it? It's only doing that one.
It's only that one. We're only running once.
Oh, hold in. Have you composed a required guzzle?
I think so. I do believe I have. Because I had to
actually make it work the other day.
No.
No, that'll be it, I think. If it's not a required feature. What?
So it's a dev dependency because it's not a package dependency.
Mm-hmm.
Hey. There's nothing wrong with the way I was doing it. It was just I forgot to install something.
That's happened to me more than I'd like to admit.
That is definitely throwing an exception. So now what I want to do is, how do I? Oh, okay. We need to test this part next.
Yeah.
We want to make sure it is a package, but it's not a supported ERP package, basically. So that next step, this next step where it could fail is it throws an valid argument exception if the package exists, but it isn't an ERP package. See, I told you I like wordy things like this.
It should be readable. Plus, then when you get the console output with all the tests, if it's a full sentence, you know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I'd still write it like this in PHP unit. It would just be a hell of a lot of like underscores. So it's nice to not need that. So exactly, this throws an in valid argument exception. We're going to say with
we can just pass the actual module data set in here, can't we? Because
it is a supported module, that one. So I need to pass a package that is a package, will pass validation, but it isn't installable as an ERP module. So basically, any that does it, yeah, it doesn't even have to be mine. We could say Laravel definitely isn't an ERP module at this point, because what we're looking for is once we've got it, we're saying, okay, so Laravel ERP, you know, have we told our ERP module installer that this is an ERP package, or do we want to treat this as a Laravel package only, basically, because it supports both. So there's a with. So what we need to do is
want to fake and return something that doesn't include the extra, basically. Yeah?
Basically, yeah. We want to return a status. We just do a HTTP OK, but for the,
I think I think you can just remove that because I think that's the default.
It probably is. I just like to be, pretty declarative. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be specific and
grab a fixture.
Grab one. And grab it.
Thanks, Adrian.
And what I'll do, I just create a new if we need to test something that's realistic, right?
That's awesome, by the way, Adrian. Thank you. That is exactly what we need. We should definitely get the regex that is given to us by Composer itself in its documentation.
Yes, we should.
Thanks for the link.
What do we have? Okay, so back a level, back another level, or do we need to look in? Here we go. Fixtures, JSON, file.contents. Is this going to work? Basically, we want to do that, and then we're expecting invalid argument exception because it doesn't have what we're expecting. Oof, what happened? Take match and then validate attributes.
That might well be me, Steve. I just updated the regex string in the background.
You did what? Let's see. Oh wow, Jesus!
Sack me now. That's actually from. We need to come back and look at why that didn't. I'm going to replace it with the old one just for now.
Okay.
Oh.
Is that the difference between what is it, Pregex and the other one?
It could well be actually, yeah. Maybe that's the JSON, JSON validation.
So let's run it again. Hey, so can we? I'm pretty sure with the throws, can you do? You can pass the exception message as well, can't you?
Yeah.
Will it validate against the exception message?
Yeah. So what you can pass the message as the second thing to say exactly what the message should be.
So that message should be just so it's very clear in the test. Is all I'm thinking.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not bothered about, obviously we are in this case. But another cool thing that went in the other week is if you're not bothered about the exception type, you're only interested in the exception message, you can pass the message as the first parameter and ignore the second parameter.
So there we go. So that I want to make sure that is definitely the reason why it fails.
Yeah.
Basically. There we go.
That's looking beautiful.
Because the thing what we got is, we want to be able to still install Laravel packages, but we want to ensure that if you're using this command, that you're actually installing a module and you're not trying to take a shortcut or you can't remember how to do it or whatever.
Yeah, which makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Would it be worth moving? I feel like we're going to be doing the HTTP fake a lot. So this is more a point in discussion than we should do this, but would it be worth moving that into a method that simplifies so we don't have to write repo.packages.org/whatever all the time? And we can kind of just give it a few details in a single method call, which also might help if we wanted to, in the future, do some higher order tests or anything like that.
Yeah, okay. I get you. So let's come to pest here. Let's say function packages fake. That's not going to return anything. What we want that to do is to HTTP. We're going to want to fake we want this part to be our default, but this bit we want. I'm pretty sure that accepts a callable. I can't remember if that accepts a callable or whether it has to be a response.
I think you pass fake a callable.
You can pass fake a callable, but I thought you could
also do it with
a sequence fake callback. I think it's only going to fake it for this one round trip, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, in theory, what we can do is,
it does also accept a closure. I just did a quick source dive. Yeah, you can return a closure as well as a basic response.
So I could just say layer. Which means I should be able to, up here, run packages fake.
Mm-hmm.
That.
Yep, it should still pass.
Still pass.
The only other tip I would give here is, you know how you return void in pest?
Yeah.
In the function. Return the test case instead, which you can do by returning test as a global function. Because if you imagine you're in a higher order chain, so you just return, and then just test with no function. That's it. That's all you have to do. And then obviously, and then you just want to change it from void to test case and return the test one. Oh, actually, no, just return the PHP unit or the PHP unit framework test case.
That one.
Yeah. Should still pass.
It goes, blah, blah, blah.
Then it's just the wrong return type. That's because it's
that's pulling.
It's because if you get rid of the hard return type, which I know you probably don't want to do in the long run. But just run that and that will pass.
Yeah.
The basics is there. If you're in a higher order test and you call packages fake and it doesn't return the test case, you kind of hit the end of the line, if that makes sense.
Okay. So
Whereas
for now, we won't add a return type for sake of being able to do it.
Yeah. What's Adrian say? Instead of a callback,
Yeah,
pass.
That's not a bad idea. I could instead of callback, I could do you can do like what HTTP response, where the body is the body and the status is status. And then instead of doing a closure here, we could do
could you make this default the status to 200 or okay?
Yeah, but I'm going to do it my way.
I just shoot from the hip.
I do APIs. Yeah, it's what I do. So what I need is basically.
Yeah, so now you literally just pass that. That's really nice, actually, isn't it? That's super simple. Super simple.
I don't even have to pass the status at that point.
Yeah. But obviously, if you're working on your own, this would be a lot faster, wouldn't? But taking that extra time just to think about how does this test look?
Yeah.
How could we make it look better? Does make a big difference.
What we also need to do is
so that we can just pass the status in.
So up here, I can now do a packages fake where the status is at.
Very nice.
There we go.
Clean.
Done.
Clean.
Done. And I've now been streaming for just over 2 hours. I'm going to call it a night soon because I'd very much like to see my wife for the evening.
Yes, me too.
She might not want to see me, but I would like to see her.
No, that's been good, and I think like the TDD in there,
the validation stuff was definitely
the data sets. So I think underutilized in PHP unit, but very accessible in PHP store in Pest. So.
Yeah, I mean, I would have used it on PHP unit before, but the documentation all felt very kind of. It didn't point me in the right direction. It didn't highlight the uses of it the way that PestDocs does. PestDocs explains it in how useful it is to you, whereas in PHP unit, it's more kind of saying, on a theoretical level, if you want to do X, Y, Z, then you can do this.
Yeah.
Okay, my wife's seen me enough, apparently.
You're on for another 4 hours.
You wouldn't believe she loves me, but she really does. Now, if she tells me she does, then especially when I get paid.
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, that's been awesome.
I think that's been fun. We've done some unit tests. We've done a fixture. We've got data sets and some feature tests.
Higher order in there.
High order stuff going on. I mean, I'd hate to see how you could higher order. Can you higher order these?
Well, at the minute, you're literally only passing one thing into the data.
But it would look cool, right?
So, if you drop the data set, then that could definitely be a higher order test because it's not doing anything terribly. You would just call packages fake as a method, as a higher order method.
Okay, basically what I'd need to do is that. Then
you'd call your packages fake thing there.
Pull that up.
Yeah. and then you'd chain on.
Expect.
I don't even think there's an expectation going on because your throws is your expectation, right? So you just want to tap that.
Oh, it's just tap it, yeah.
Yeah, because we're not trying to do an expectation call. We can just tap and say perform this one action and then return the test case. So that would close that out, and then you just chain throws onto the end of that.
And throws.
And then obviously where you've got your module name, you would need that to be a hard-coded string now.
That's tapping, that's that. That'll do that part. Where am I? Here I am. Those. Laravel. And basically that.
Yeah. Unless we've got something wrong with the packages fake method, this should work. Stupid PHP storm.
No, this is why I use named arguments, because that's just throwing me off completely. Line 29 missing. Yes, it is.
Oh, yeah. Just the chained.
That is what's causing the issue. Thank you for that, Adrian. You love me the most when I'm asleep. Thank you, wife. That is just what I wanted to hear. I don't sleep that much, so you can't miss me a lot. That's cool. I like that.
Version of it. Yeah. And obviously, the only time that wouldn't work is if you were doing something with Laravel in the arguments of packages fake, as in the arguments you were passing to packages fake. Yeah, look at this. You're seeing the refactor beauty, aren't you?
Yeah, it's great. This is,
you can't even help yourself.
Yeah, look at this. We can just go, okay, so we just want to pass Laravel into that, and what we're actually going to return is we're just going to return file get contents for we're now in the current directory, which is here.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so we can just say, okay, the current directory in fixtures.
Yep. Change that for the dynamic name, I imagine. Ah, it's beautiful.
But I would wrap that for readability. You don't need to, but I would wrap that for readability. Which means that I can just say, instead of file get contents, I can just do a get fixture.
Hello, global functions.
Yeah. There we go.
Very nice.
Then let's say you do add the data sets as working in the expectations API. If I added with here, I could just return a data set of fixtures to pass through to here and just replace it in there.
Yeah.
If that wasn't ever going to be a possibility, then maybe I wouldn't go as far as making get fixture a. If I have 5 more minutes, well, that depends on the wife. Depends how much you really meant her last statement. But it looks good.
I think it. I honestly, it's so clean, isn't it? It's just.
It is. I feel like I almost feel like I'm part of a Sparsy team writing code like this right now. Every time I see one of their packages or some of their tests, it always looks like this.
Yeah.
it's nice. My next step after this, I think, because obviously, is let the HTTP fake decide what fixture to load from the given URL.
I think Tom does something like this on opendoor.me.
I think it was. How did he do it?
I actually, Olin, I'm saying this like I can't just open the project.
Open door, no. That's Astro something. Astronomic. Jobs. No, not in jobs. Tests. Test code, fixtures. He organized them by org users. So if we have a look in feature test for
the base test case. In the base test case of inside
feature.
Yeah, scroll down a little bit. He has that HTTP fake, and then he has this fixture.
He's got fixture string path.
So I think what he's doing there is he's looking at the URL that you've passed to HTTP fake, and then he's saying, take that path, parse the bit I'm interested in, and then that's the bit I actually want to use for my fixture. So if you were to pass HTTP fake api.github.com / well, you can see there on line 27, it parses the URL with the current HTTP request URL.
Down here. So what he's doing here, I don't think is going to benefit me as much.
I don't think you're making quite as many fixture calls. Well,
no, not right now. I think if it gets to the point where I'm going to be using multiple fixtures, yeah, definitely. And I think there's, if I'm doing more than two.
No, then, yeah.
Yeah, if I'm doing more than two, that makes sense to me.
I'm just having a quick look because Adrian just says this. Hey, if you require more complicated logic to turn response return for certain endpoints, you may pass a closure to the fake method. It will receive the request, return a response instance. You can grab the package name from the request.
I could do, but I don't think it's not going to add anything. That's the main thing right now. It's not adding anything. And
I think if it becomes more apparent down the line that you're testing with like 3-4 fixtures, then certainly. I mean, it's kind of
the standard kind of rule of three. If you're doing something more than 3 times 3 factor. So if I'm going to if I get to the point where I've got 3 different types of fixtures, then I'll give it a go and we'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
But until that point, I don't want to overcomplicate too much to the point where it's starting to get, maybe a bit too tricky to manage. If you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's quite nice as well that in there you've got the declaration on line 31 of I want Laravel, and then on line 34 of I'm interested in the Laravel package.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I think I've been given another idea today or this evening for the next PR that's going to go to Pest as well. But that's the awesome thing as well. Like every time you work with it, there's a new idea or something comes out of it.
There's something that comes out. You did say that you might come up with something after the stream, and I was like, but we're not going to do that much. There we go.
That's it. That's the great thing. Like,
yeah,
not going to do that in PHP unit.
This I like this. This is nice. This is making me want to change it all into a higher order, but no, not right now. I'll come back to it.
It's been a pleasure, Steve.
Likewise.
Go with you.
Likewise. Thanks anybody who is in a later time zone for sticking with us. It's probably quite late for some of you. But thanks, and back on Thursday doing some more ERP stuff. I'm going to be starting with the auto discovery, and then I've got an idea for a module which I'll tell you about before I go. Is like a version control one. So what I'm going to do, the install module command is going to emit an event, which is going to alert, just basically alert anyone listening that, a new ERP module was installed, relatively standard. But I'm going to create a kind of a Git backend where, with the module, you can connect your GitHub I'll start with just GitHub, your GitHub account or your GitHub repo. And what I want it to do is if you install through the UI or if you install a module on production, it can submit a PR saying a new module has been installed.
That would be cool.
Just so that, so we can add that web interface to allow people to install modules through the UI, but still have some safety of, okay, I can't merge, because it's going to disable modules. How am I going to manage CI/CD? Because originally my idea was, just disable installing modules in production. All you can do is enable them or disable them. Might still go that way, but I think there might be a need where people want to install this in production. Maybe they don't have access to the CLI and they have to do it through certain things.
Doesn't have you used Titanic?
No, but that is where I got the idea from. It was Marion Pop from the chat. He's the one who's talking to me about it today. He was like, the way that Titanic does it, it would be cool if you could do it like that. And I had a look at the source code, how Titanic does it, and had a look into it a bit. And that, I think that is definitely, it's got something to it there. I might have to do some source diving into how Titanic works in the background for some of that, but I definitely think it would be an optional module that you could install to allow you to basically just create PRs.
Yeah, that'd be real nice. If the whole flow from start to PR in the repo, someone goes, checks it, approved, always
also,
goes.
I want to do auto discovery. So, hey Craig, hey Mark, yep, just turning up. But I also want to do auto discovery. So take the example of, I've just pulled down the code base and the test database. I don't want to go through and install things because it's all in Composer. I don't want to install this, install that. My Composer and what the database knows is separated. Doing auto discovery is going to run through what's installed in Composer, pull out the ones that are ERP modules, and add them. Basically, that's my next task, and that's Thursday. That's what I'm going to do on Thursday.
Exciting.
And hopefully, I'll be able to write some pest tests while I go through it. Now that I'm feeling good about it.
Yeah, I will have a look before Thursday as well and just see what the if we can move that users method into the pest.php file, whatever reason that's not working, and then you've not got to remember to declare it at the top of each file.
Let's pest this. It is up, and that's on the new branch. So I'll keep that open as I'll start as a PR a little bit later. We'll keep it open there for a bit. If anyone wants to have a look, drop comments. I'll keep it open, and I'll probably merge it on stream on Thursday, so that you got until Thursday. If you want to add anything to it, have a look, add comments. We'll close it off and we'll pull it in, and we'll add a couple of things, and we'll carry on.
Exciting stuff.
Yes, cool. Right.
Thanks very much. Yeah.
Thanks very much, Luke.
Awesome.
Pleasure to have you. I definitely have to have you again, especially next time I need test writing.
Thanks for having me, and thanks everyone for listening to me.
Thanks very much, and good night.
Take care.